Now, Congress, they've got an election coming up on November 6th. That's going to determine who controls the House. Is the Speaker going to be Kevin McCarthy, Jim Jordan, or Nancy Pelosi? Well, we're going to find out on November 6th. Joining us now, one of the congressmen who's up for re-election, along with everybody else in a very tight race, 7th District, Virginia, Dave Brat. Congressman, great to have you.
Hey, thanks, John. Great to be on.
What do you think of this op-ed? It isn't op-ed. This anonymous editorial that went in the New York Times. Congressman, just what do you think of this?
Well, I mean, there's just a whole new set of rules. The newspapers are not newspapers right now. They're violating all of their own ethical codes of conduct as journalists in order to resist, right? And so, I mean, I think you had it right. We're producing results, and the other side is just doing resistance. And that's the choice the voters are going to have. But, right, to create a story with no source and a lead at the New York Times, I mean, everybody sees it now. It's all out in the open. And they talk about the need for transparency and democracy and all this kind of thing, and they're violating their own ethical stances that they're critiquing the president on. And so the American people know what's going on. We had 4.2% economic growth last quarter. We're going to have 4.6 growth through the roof next quarter. All the unemployment rates are at the all-time lows. African American, Hispanic, kids, women, everything is just great news. Yesterday, the manufacturing index is through the roof. Capital investment is through the roof. That means economic growth is going to keep going. Our foreign policy is getting stronger. We're not leading from behind anymore. And I think the American people got a clear sense of what's going on. I'm hearing it across the district. I got Democrats, independents coming up to me and saying, hey, I'm better off, right? People that are working the tough jobs out there, they're getting wage increases. It's good news is kicking in all over the place. So I think that wins over this. The results are going to win over the resistance. And the resistance is just pure negativity.
They only have smear and they only have fear. What they don't have is results, and the president is delivering on that. And your campaign is tough, but it's one of the tough things for any Democrat to do right now is they cannot talk about this economy. Because if you start talking about the number of jobs, the fact that wages are up, we're going to get another 4.5% growth come the next quarter, which will be released before November 6th. We'll get that coming. You get all this good news. I mean, it's very difficult to then say, vote all these people out and put us in so we can do what? Get back to Obama's 1%. Trump is MAGA, right? Make America great again. It's like the Democrats' mantra right now, Congressman, is mama. Make America miserable again. If you're miserable, you're going to vote for the other guys. I mean, it's the craziest thing I've seen. Now, let's get to this Saudi school. I just had a former FBI agent on that is very familiar with it. And the former FBI agent says that this school in Northern Virginia is very well known for teaching basically that your first order of business is to the Muslim faith and to the Quran, and it is not to America. And that he said that they teach an advocate overthrowing the U.S. government. That's like one of the things that they teach in that school. I can't verify that, but that's what the former FBI agent said. Look, I'm not opposed to anybody getting a job, right? But don't you think that Abigail Spanberger, your opponent, has to answer the question why she chose to teach at that school? Isn't that a legitimate question, Dave, for the media to ask?
Well, yeah, I think it is legitimate, and what makes it legitimate is her own statement. She said last week when she went to the New York Times that she's proud of everything she did. So she's not walking back any of what you just said, right? The school has produced terrorists. They're anti-American explicitly, right? I mean, Schumer led a council with 12 other senators. The school was shut down. They produced terrorists. It was called Terror High. They're openly anti-American, anti-women, anti-Israel, anti-Semitic, and anti-Christian. All of that is out there. In 5 seconds of blogging, you can find out about the school by reputable news reports back then. And so, if she's proud of it in the first place, why isn't it on her biography? Right? If it's teaching, I taught. I've got all my teaching on my resume. Why isn't it on her resume? And so if she's hiding that, what else is she hiding, right? What else do we need to know? We don't know her policy positions on hardly anything. We know she's going to do the universal health care route. She came out strong on that one in the primary, but then the paper reported it was $32 trillion. And so I think she's backing off of that position. She's open borders, sanctuary city, wants to get rid of the tax cuts, says she won't vote for Pelosi, but that could be because Pelosi's too conservative for her, right? She's backed by Senator Elizabeth Warren, endorsement, and several other far-left groups. And so, we want to know what are her policy positions. She's running for Congress. What's her biography? And how do you not condemn that? Just put the shoe on the other foot. If a Republican worked for a school that produced terrorists who was anti-Semitic, anti-American, anti-Christian, anti-women, you're out of a job. It's disqualifying on its face, right? And so that's the double standard. And so that's what I don't get here. And it'd be a news story across every front page of paper in the country. And the left is, it doesn't seem like covering the story at all.
All right, so I know I asked you this the other day, and I'm going to ask it again because I didn't get a satisfactory answer, and I'm going to probably keep asking it until you have one. Why don't you just have a town hall meeting and have it in the biggest place that you can find, invite everybody, so they'll come and protest and toss tomatoes around at you, those that you're not their favorite person, Dave. But why not just have that? I mean, why have that as a campaign issue? Why not just have your town hall meeting and then everybody can come and they can all jump up and down and call you names and then it's over. And then you take whatever legitimate questions there are. Why not just do that?
Right. Well, because of what you just said, I mean, the last one I may actually have some. So it's not.
You should have one. You should have one. Just like
said, the last
listen,
one I had,
everybody come.
They
have fun.
Yeah, I mean, they're not fun because the last time it was reported, right, in the RTD, Richmond Times-Dispatch, and the Chesterfield Observer, they were swearing at the pastor while he gave the prayer, lobbing F-bombs during the prayer. And Abigail Spanberger was sitting in the front row, didn't do anything about it. I couldn't get a word in edgewise. She says she's going to bring a new tone to D.C. That looks like the new tone. And then she says, I'm not bipartisan. I got bipartisan bills I put out on my email. Tons, but it's very hard to have a rational dialogue when the other side is swearing at the pastor and your opponent is sitting in the front row leading it on. And so I may do another one just to show, like you said, right, just to show the people what is going on the far left. So this is no longer the Democrat Party of JFK, right? JFK was proud of his Catholic faith for supply-side tax cuts, strong foreign policy, etc. So this is not the Democrats. This is a new far-left thing that is just uncivil. And you see it every day at Blue Virginia or whatever it's called. I mean, the content is just terrible.
All right, so look, you can have a big town hall meeting. You can invite everybody. You can ask your opponent, Abigail Spanberger, to tell her supporters that come to, not curse at pastors. That's just kind of ugly. Don't do that. And just, take 50 questions. You love answering questions. Answer them all and shake everybody's hand and go home.
I wish I could.
And that's the end of it.
I had them for 3 years, right? And so until that happened twice in a row. So my plan was to keep having them. And so we're going to try to do, maybe we'll try one more big one, see how, see if the left can behave or not.
Well, I think you owe it to your constituents because you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, I'm not going to have them because this is just my judgment because of a few bad apples. I mean, it's not fair to the people that do want to go and get some legitimate information.
Yeah, you're right, but it's not a few bad apples. It was I couldn't speak, and it's all on tape, right? Have people go. So it's not because a few people are upset with me. It's because they had a mob that shut down free speech and wouldn't let me answer. And so that's all on tape for all to see already. So, I mean, we can repeat the exercise just to show the folks again that I'm trying to put forward good ideas in good faith. And that's what it's about, right? I mean, it should be about health care and keeping the economy cranking ahead, strong foreign policy, border security, ending illegal immigration and all that comes with it, right? The fentanyl, heroin, opioid trafficking issues. I've been working on those for years. We got the Ann Wagner's coming next week to a town hall forum on the trafficking issue. So I'm out in public having forums. I was with 250 realtors the other day with the Federal Reserve economists and the reporters from the RTD. So it's not like I'm not out and about meeting with large groups. It's just that one forum where the left cannot be civil. And you saw it yesterday in the Kavanaugh hearings too, right? I mean,
I wanted to ask you about that because I don't like the level of uncivility, and I don't even know if you can call it uncivility anymore. It's just nasty. It's not the world that I like to live in. I don't do it on the radio. I cut people off when they do that. I'm not interested, especially in the morning. I want to have a civil dialogue and just have a conversation with people. But, you look at what's going on in the hearings. I got to tell you, Congressman, I'm 60 years old. I've been following politics for 50 years. I have never seen anything like the disruption that's going on in the hearing. The only senator that even asked a legitimate question was Di-Fi from San Francisco, who really asked legitimate questions about Judge Kavanaugh's view on Roe v. Wade. And I thought her questions were very civil, very measured, and the same questions, if I was her constituents, I would want her to ask. But then you look at all the other shenanigans that goes on and the grandstanding and all this other stuff. What is the deal in there?
Well, that's what I'm saying. The left is resistance. That is their theme. There's no results, no public policy. It's incivility. You see it at the national level. It's in every race across the country, right? I could tell you horror stories of what's happened to my colleagues that when they go home over August. And that's what the left is doing. And so they have huge energy. They're using that energy to be caustic. The leftists are getting pulled out of those Senate hearing rooms by every 5 minutes, yelling, shrieking, all that. Everybody sees it, right? That's what the left is doing. And then New York Times writing pieces with no author name attached, and that's what we're facing. I don't think people want to see that. I think they want to see results, booming economy again, and just civility. The Republicans you see behaving properly, right? We're not the ones shouting and screaming in every room we enter. And we're working on the border. We're working on all the issues I just said, the opioid crisis, the trafficking crisis. These are real things affecting everybody's communities out there. All of my sheriffs that's their number one issue right now, right? Opioids, the heroin piece, the trafficking piece. And so we're working with our sheriffs trying to get federal money down to the localities. And that's what we're trying to do. But we're being met with this resistance that is not productive, right? They're deconstructing everything that made this country great, right? The Judeo-Christian tradition, the rule of law, right? They want to arrest the ICE agents who are protecting us from the fentanyl, 200 million lethal doses of fentanyl that come across our border last year. They're protecting us. And the left wants to put the ICE officers who are protecting us on trial. And then the free market system, the left's, their performance on the economy was dismal, and now it's booming in a year, right? Everyone can see very plainly how important policy is to their real-world lives.
Well, I got a couple more minutes. What is Dave Brat's policy for the southern border of the United States? Because right now we're back to catch and release, Congressman, which I just had Buddy Carter on, your good friend from Georgia. Catch and release is not a policy. It's nothing, basically. Right. I had two ranchers on in southern Arizona. They have ranches at the border. Both of them told me that only 1 out of 6 illegal aliens that come over the border are apprehended, and that's only 15%. And of that 15% that's actually apprehended, they're given a piece of paper, and they're told to show up for a hearing, which 50% don't ever show up. So you cut that 15% in half. So you got basically 92% of anybody that comes over the border illegally just is absorbed into the United States, never to be seen or heard from again, ostensibly, until ICE finds them. So out of every 100 people that come over, 92 of them get through one way or the other. We tried zero tolerance. That led to kids in cages. That blew up in our face. So what is the policy now? What is the Dave Brat policy on the southern border of the United States?
Yeah, my policy is the Goodlatte bill, and that was the policy of President Obama, President Clinton, Hillary Clinton for the past decades as well. Barbara Jordan, the great civil rights leader, kicked it all off. And until the last few years, the left has just gone off the rails. They're craving for open borders, and I mean open borders like you're describing. They want that. They're running on that. And so the Goodlatte bill has all the good stuff: more interior enforcement, no catch and release, E-Verify, no chain migration. It's got the whole package. It got close. We got 200 votes in the House, and that's the and we compromised, right? We helped the 700,000 DACA kids come out of the shadows. We compromised with the Democrats on that, and they said no. After we compromised, they said, nope, we're not voting for any of it unless they want open borders. So that's where they're at.
Why did the Democrats want open borders, Congressman, in your judgment?
Well, I think it's just political. I mean, that's the only conclusion, right? The Democrats used to care about the American worker, and now they clearly do not, because open borders leads to continued decreasing wage rates. So right when we got the wage rate going up for the American worker, now the Democrats are working to reduce wages by opening up the border, which allows a ton of folks to come in. They're competing with American workers, and there go your wage rates again. And then the obvious voting pattern. They want more voters to go their way, and that's just the obvious pattern that's been going on. And California is a leading indicator.
Well, you got that right. Congressman, I'm out of time. I'm sorry. I want to thank you for joining us today on the John Fredericks Radio Network live at the FAIR Conference, Federation for American Immigration Reform, the 12th annual Hold Their Feet to the Fire Conference. Always good to be here in the Phoenix Park Hotel. Congressman Dave Brat.